Hi, welcome back to Nutrition Bites. Today we are completing our three-part series on nutrition label reading, and we are wrapping up talking all about fats. Fat provides energy or calories for our body and also stores excess energy for us to use later. Now, each gram of fat provides 9 calories, whereas protein and carbohydrates provide 4 calories per gram. Now, fat gets a bad reputation, but it is an essential nutrient that is needed for proper growth and development. It also tastes great and helps keep us full. So if we get too little, we often don't feel satisfied after a meal, but if we consume too much, we store that excess energy as body fat. We can use the nutrition facts label to identify how much fat is in a food, and also it helps us choose foods with healthier types of fats. Now remember to always check the serving size first, because all of these values are the amount for one serving, not for the whole container. The first thing you're going to see is total fats, and underneath that you'll see saturated fats and trans fats listed. Now it's also voluntary for the food manufacturer to include unsaturated fats, which will be listed as polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. Now, anytime that you see an item indented in on the nutrition facts label, it means that the amount of that item is included in the category above. So total fats is the amount of fats in grams of all of these subcategories of fats. Now, how much total fat should we aim for in a day? The recommendation is to limit total fat intake to less than 25 to 35% of your total daily calories. So what does that mean? It means if you're consuming 2,000 calories per day, you are going to aim for about 500 to 700 calories coming from total fat, which would be about 50 to 70 grams of total fat for the entire day. The first type of fat we see on the nutrition label is saturated fat. And this type of fat is associated with increased risk of heart disease. So we want to limit our intake to no more than 5 to 10% of our total calories for the day. So if you're consuming around 2,000 calories per day, this would mean limiting saturated fat to around 100 to 200 calories or 10 to 20 grams of saturated fat or less per day. Now, saturated fat is going to be solid at room temperature. It's also mainly found in animal products, so things like your meat and poultry, as well as butter or lard. Some of the ways that we can limit saturated fat are to choose leaner meat products, to trim the fat off of your meats or remove the skin of your poultry. Also, using protein items that are based from plants instead of animals is a great way to reduce saturated fat. So utilizing things like beans, soy products, nuts, and seeds as a variety for your protein options. Another good tip is to limit fried foods and choose less of the high-fat dairy foods when you're shopping. The next type of fat we see on the nutrition label is trans fats. Now, these are fats that we really want to avoid because they are highly associated with increasing our risk of cardiovascular disease. Trans fats are partially hydrogenated oils, and they were originally used to increase the shelf life of a wide range of processed foods. Now that we know that they are not good for our health, they are by law being phased out of our food supply, but you still can find them in small amounts in certain pre-prepared foods, especially frozen foods like frozen biscuits, pie crust, and pizza crust. So you want to check the nutrition label and choose items with 0 grams of trans fat. The next two fats are unsaturated fats, and these are what we want to choose in place of saturated fats or trans fats. These unsaturated fats are not shown to raise cholesterol or to increase risk for heart disease, so they are considered heart-healthy options. Polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats are generally liquid at room temperature, and they also come mainly from plant sources. So things like oils, nuts, and seeds, as well as avocados. Some fish do also contain levels of these heart-healthy fats. Let's talk about some of the food packaging claims you may see related to fat. Now, if a product says that it is fat-free or non-fat, that means that it's using less than 0.5 grams of fat per serving. If something is labeled as low-fat, that means that they're using 3 grams or less of fat per serving. And if it's a product that's sold as a meal or a main dish, it's required to use no more than 30% of calories coming from fat. Another claim that you may see is reduced fat or less fat. That means that this product is using at least 25% less fat than the original version. So depending on the original version, it may still be a significant amount of fat. You're going to want to turn that product over and check the nutrition facts label. Similarly, if something is marked as light or a light version, it's going to be using at least 50% less fat than the original. So again, it's good to still check that nutrition facts label. Thanks for joining me. I hope that these tips were helpful and that you continue to practice using nutrition facts labels. They really are the best source of knowledge for knowing what is in our food and therefore what is going into our bodies. This completes our 3-part series. If you missed parts 1 and 2, make sure to go back and check those out, and I'll see you in our next Nutrition Bites.